I got there, I arrived with my boyfriend, and we decided to do a quick walkthrough of part of the racetrack. And immediately I was thinking, there's no way that that's the race course. There must be some other line, or this is the pros line. This is not what I'm taking. It was terrain that looked impossible. It was sections that I would never even consider attempting on my bike, and now without hesitancy I was supposed to go and race it. It was very tough to overcome just in my mind alone, so I actually stopped walking it after seeing 2 of the hill climbs. I stopped. I didn't want to see any more. I didn't want to know what was ahead because I felt like I was getting in my head so much that the fear of riding that was overcoming the funness and the adventure that was supposed to take place during that race. Sometimes it's easier to go into things without seeing them or without thinking about them rather than analyzing every aspect of what you're about to ride.
In 2021, Red Bull tested the waters for an additional stop in their World Hard Enduro Tour in the middle of nowhere, Alberta, Canada. Approximately 150 people attended, some pro, some semi-pro, and some like Emily with 0 racing experience under their belts. That's not to say that Emily is inexperienced when it comes to riding off-road. She teaches riding classes, runs an all-women's dirt bike club, and is a full-time motorcycle journalist for Motorcycle Mojo. But this would be her first time to ever try something of this caliber.
The Badlands is a pretty interesting terrain if you've never been to, say, Drumheller or Dinosaur Park. Steveville, where the race was, is kind of situated in between the two. And it's all sandstone, this real soft, malleable terrain that as riders ride it, it kicks up tons of dust. It changes the whole form of the terrain. And it actually, throughout the race, there were some sections that were giving way to holes underneath. So every lap, it would be a different type of ride. There would be a different obstacle in your way to get around. And one thing I found really tough was after so many people would go and do a hill climb on one section or 2 sections of that specific hill, it would become polished and you would see the black from the tires. And as your tire hit that, it would just spin. It was almost like a glass surface by that point because the sandstone would become so polished and so smooth after that. The type of race was really interesting too. So with it being my first race, I didn't really know what to expect, but the Outliers consisted of doing laps, and every time the first rider would do their next lap, a new obstacle would open up. So with the name Outliers, there was 8 different obstacles and 8 different lines that would open up throughout each lap that you then had to do. For perspective, the pros went first, the amateurs went last. So as the amateurs were going, the pros were already finishing up their first lap. And that didn't give too much time for the amateurs to have an easy chance at making one lap, because by the time we had gotten to the first obstacle, it was already opened up and we had no choice but to hit it. And so that became quite a challenge, especially when we had to take more time to do those challenges. And then by the time you would get to the next section, it was already opened up because the pros could just rally through these sections a lot easier than a lot of us less experienced or skilled riders.
Get ready, go!
I was on my 2015 Beta 300 RR. I was actually really impressed with how this bike went. I had just purchased it a month earlier, brought it in hopes that I wouldn't have any issues with it, and luckily I didn't. It was incredible. The way that it was set up and the way that it performed, I was really impressed with it. I think I tomahawked that bike at least 20 times, going uphill or sliding downhill, doing a front end wheelie and bailing really hard, locking up my front end. I was really impressed with the bike. As soon as I would pick it up, it would start up again. I didn't break anything off of it aside from bark busters. And ever since that moment, I fell in love with that beta. I was really surprised throughout the race how many amateurs there were and how many first-time racers there were, including myself. As we were at the start line in our amateur group, I believe there was 47 of us in amateurs, and it was a shotgun start. So a literal shotgun start, might I add. So the shotgun went off. All 47 of us are racing up one hill climb to try to get ahead of the pack, and it was chaos. And to realize that many of these riders that I was racing with, it was also their first race, was a really incredible moment. It built friendships and made us bond really quickly, because as we were struggling, we chose to help each other up hills and through these hill climbs just to try to make it a bit further with each other. It was pretty cool being able to try some of those hill climbs. It was interesting, you know, we'd kind of line up down below, and maybe 1 out of 20 of us would get up the hill climb, while the other ones would go up, get stuck halfway, and just try to hold their bikes there before somebody could come and help pull them up. It was challenging, it was tough, and in the end, out of 147 riders, I believe, there was 7 people that finished. And that just gives you perspective on how heinous this race actually was.
My mother would kill me.
So when I decided to quit the race, it wasn't a moment of absolute defeat by any means. I was riding with 2 other people that we were helping each other through the obstacles, and we were all just getting so tired.
All right, I'll see if I can get up and then I'll help you guys up, eh?
You know, when 2 of us were ready to give up, the next person would be like, let's just do one more, let's go to the next one. That was really encouraging, but kind of the last straw for us was, I said the last time, let's just do this last one. It was a large descent that was incredibly steep, and it was pretty rutted at that point too from all the riders going down. As I was coming down that last hill, my foot got knocked by a rock and came off the rear brake, and all of a sudden I was barreling down this sandy, steep hill that ended into a very steep 6 or 7 foot descent onto flat ground. And as I landed that, I crunched right in the front and into a fence, and the 2 riders that we were helping each other, the other two riders, bailed on that hill too, and together we decided that that might be the end of the day for us, because we didn't want to get hurt. We wanted to enjoy the rest of the race, and we felt accomplished either way. You know, we had done these hill climbs in the sense that we never thought was possible. We would have looked at them earlier on that day or even the day before and thought that there was no way that we were going to ride that. So the fact that we had gotten that far, we were just really proud of ourselves. And that was the fourth obstacle that we got to. So never finished 1 lap, but that's okay. I'm hoping this year I can get through 1 whole lap at least, and we'll go from there next year.
Hey, buddy. I think I got cactus stuck in my butt.
Caliber of riding that was involved in the Outliers event was like something I've never seen before. And it was no wonder that after the event had finished, that it was inducted into the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship. So that means that this year for 2022, we're going to be seeing some of the world's top pros come to Canada for the very first time to race the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship here in Steveville, Alberta, which is pretty crazy and cool to think about. When the event was done, I was drained, I was exhausted, and my pride, any pride that I had left, had gone out the window.
Yeah, just my leg's a bit pinned. Give me a second.
I had gone into it thinking that I was a well-rounded rider, and I had come out of it knowing that I had a lot more to learn before I could ever attempt that again.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm
ain't what I expected.
After the race had ended, I had this drive and desire to get right back on my bike, even with all the bruises and cuts that I had, just to learn how to do better. I want so bad to be able to try that again and just get a bit further. And that's really what dirt biking is about, you know? We don't go out there just to have an easy ride every time. We want to challenge ourselves, and it's in human nature to be competitive and to drive ourselves to be the best that we can. And so being able to experience something like that, although it was a bit of a tough pill to swallow at the time, and realizing how much I still had to gain in skills, it was really good. And since then, I've just been working towards running it this year.